I have a really good idea for a movie, and it was inspired by you. The seed of this idea came from when you said that you would love to see a portrayal of Oscar Wilde by Titus Burgess. I took that idea and ran with it.
Here we go.
1890s London. Titus Burgess is Oscar Wilde. Sam Richardson is George Bernard Shaw. And Richard Ayoade is J.M. Barrie. They are the preeminent playwrights of the United Kingdom, and they have to team up to catch a killer. There's a Jack the Ripper-style murderer that's terrorizing the high society of London, and he's leaving literary clues for the police. So the King of England, played by Matt Berry, assembles our heroes to crack the case.
There was no King of England. It was Queen Victoria.
Okay, fine. Queen Victoria, played by Stephen Fry. As for the killer, he can be played by Julian Barrett or Jermaine Clement, or both. And I would like to see a cameo by Nick Offerman as U.S. President Grover Cleveland.
I've been wanting Offerman... Have we talked about this?
I don't think so.
I've been thinking that Offerman would be an excellent Cleveland for years. Maybe it's just the mustache.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode, I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good. It might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. On our last episode, I neglected to say that I was going to let Craig choose today's movie. What have you got?
Here in the basement, we are literally surrounded by music. There are a couple thousand LPs or CDs down here, and if you take a look back at our show, you'll see a lot of actors who are better known for their musical careers, such as Bob Dylan, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Frank Sinatra, Beethoven. But today, we're going to make way for a lady. She's like a ray of light, she's like a prayer, she's like a virgin, she's like Madonna, and she's Susan in Desperately Seeking Susan.
You know, I don't know if I ever actually saw the whole thing.
Catch. Released in 1985, DSS was directed by another Susan, Susan Seidelman. It stars Rosanna Arquette, Aidan Quinn, and of course, Madonna making her big screen debut. And she's not the only musician to be found in this movie. There is a small but important part played by punk rock pretty boy Richard Hell. I thought after watching this movie you may want a little Madonna in your life.
Will you look at that? The blessed lady herself.
It's the Virgin Mary, the other Madonna.
I think this is meant for a dashboard.
Are you on the borderline? Do you feel like you're going to lose your mind? Well then, just keep on pushing your love over to the big leather couch to watch the 1980s classic, Desperately Seeking Susan.
Maybe.
No, you'll be deceived. In his eyes.
Maybe.
No, you'll make believe.
Damn it. I'm always wrong.
No, yeah.
I should just say shoop, shoop, shoop instead of answering questions. Roberta is getting her hair done at the salon with her sister-in-law, Leslie. What's that in the paper? Another Desperately Seeking Susan personals ad.
Someone's having a passionate personal ad relationship, and Roberta's obsessed with this.
Meanwhile, Susan is in a posh hotel suite. Madonna's playing 52 pickup with herself.
Lost again. Or did I win?
Where she's just had a one-night stand.
It's about time.
This takes place in a world where they have no writing utensils other than makeup.
She stuffs her suitcase full of stuff that she's stealing. She's some kind of sex burglar, including some very fancy earrings, and she leaves. Looks like Richard Hell belongs to the sleepy generation.
Some creepy blonde guy shows up right as she's leaving, gives her the stink eye. Roberta's having a birthday party that night.
Who is he?
Stephen Wright? I want to get a full body tattoo of myself, only taller.
But her husband makes a big scene because his TV ad's on.
He owns Gary's Oasis. They make hot tubs and bathtubs.
And so he stops the party so he can focus on himself.
Gary's kind of a dork. Roberta wonders about Susan, who she is, what she does, what her life is like. Because Roberta's life is pretty boring.
And late that night she can't sleep.
You're watching the bedroom with the headphones.
I know.
I wanted to watch it here with the cake.
Oh, you're gonna, pick up the radio for the car for me tomorrow, aren't you?
Sure sure thing.
Don't eat all that cake.
Well, what cake? Who was talking about cake? Gary? Susan gets off the bus in New York City.
Push butt, rub hands, underarm hair.
She puts her stuff in a storage locker at the Port Authority, and then she goes off to the Magic Club to see her friend who works there.
Those three guys are dead. It's been 30 years.
Oh, bartender, I'd like a martini poured out of a rolled-up newspaper into a silk hat. She's eating some hot cheese curls. They're not spicy, they're just stolen. Susan finds out that the guy she had the one-night stand with jumped out of the window. He looks like hell. Roberta is walking around thinking about Susan. Keep it down, Olatunji. Keep it down, Jay Giles. She spots her.
That's who she is. Of course, that would be Susan. Susan's meeting up with Jim, her boyfriend, kind of. He's in a band.
The band got this gig in Buffalo, and we got to start tonight.
And I need to get my tie re-skinnied.
We're gonna hit traffic on the bridge. Let's fly!
We've got a bus for life. Roberta follows Susan around, goes up to the village. No! New York's attacking me! Mayor Giuliani, save me!
She follows her to a clothing store.
We're just wandering around from song to song.
Susan tries on some shoes that she really likes.
Susan trades her cool jacket for the cool shoes.
Roberta goes and buys her jacket.
Used to belong to Elvis Presley. Want to try it on?
Elvis Presley was a petite size 4.
I love this jacket. It smells like unwashed Madonna, which still smells pretty good.
Yeah. Gary's like, what's with the stupid jacket? What are you trying to do? Be an individual?
Roberta finds this locker key in the pocket of the jacket. Susan goes back to the clothing store. I need that jacket back. It's got an important key in it. The guy says, I can't help you, man. Roberta decides to take out a personals ad.
Meet me at Battery Park. We can do a swap.
But Susan's boyfriend sees the personals ad.
What fucking stranger?
Billy Joel? Someone else is desperate for Susan.
He calls his friend Dez, who's a movie projectionist.
Go down to Battery Park. Make sure she's not up to no good. Susan takes a cab down to Battery Park.
I lived in New York all my life. Used to have Chinese restaurants, Italian restaurants.
Is that Rocket's Red Glare?
Yeah. He's
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I can't believe I called that. I was just talking on my ass there.
She stiffs the cabbie. No one's gonna make this free spirit pay.
Susan and Roberta almost meet up.
You stole a cab fare. You're coming with us. They arrest Susan, and away she goes.
The blonde guy, Nolan, sees that jacket and he thinks that must be Susan, and he goes after her.
She runs away from the goon and conks herself on the head. My acorn.
Dez comes to the rescue. Roberta has amnesia. You've fallen victim to a convenient movie device. Who are you? I don't know. Where do you live?
I don't remember.
I'm desperately seeking memories.
Susan, is that you? I guess I'm Susan.
She's okay. Show's over.
Show's over, folks. Don't worry. I'm a movie projectionist. I'll take it from here.
I know when shows are over.
I got this key.
This is a Port Authority locker key.
Hop on my little moped and off they go.
Hey, there's a suitcase full of stuff. This must be your stuff.
I'm super cool and I have a towel. Her brain belongs to the blank generation. Glad we have so much Richard Hell humor to do since he was in that one scene. I got nothing on Aiden Quinn.
One night on the couch, but I don't want any drama.
Just 18th century French farce. Got it?
I don't believe it.
Someone in the Port Authority is making such a fool of me. Dez takes Roberta back to his place. The inside stairs are busted. The soup was trying to fix them. His girlfriend has left him and taken all the furniture. David Bowie, who let you in?
You can stay the night and, we can just hang out. Roberta impulsively kisses Dez and he's like, you can't do that. You're the girlfriend of my buddy. Oh, sorry, I wasn't thinking. I have so much amnesia.
Gary's worried about his wife. She's been missing for quite some time, and it comes out that he's been having an affair.
What do you expect? He's a hot tub man.
Larry!
That looks great. Any word from Roberta yet?
When I came home last night, I accidentally put my car key into the door lock, and I drove the apartment around.
We're nervous. What do you want?
Then take a Valium like a normal person.
I took a Valium once while sitting on a down comforter.
Dez and Roberta spend the night together, on separate mattresses, of course. And in the morning, good thing I had this peep tank installed, they go to the diner.
I found this in the suitcase.
Magic Club? Yeah, that's that place over on Broadway.
That's that place with a dumpster full of dead doves out back. Roberta gets kicked out. The person who wore that jacket last time dined and dashed. Everybody thinks she's Susan because of that jacket.
Rule number 1 was no drama.
Unless we come across your mama, then you can direct all the drama at her. Susan's buddy is fired from the magic club.
My luck can't get much worse anyway.
Your luck is about to get much worse. That sofa has bed bugs. By chance, Roberta goes in there looking for a job, and she gets the new position as the magician's assistant.
I am the Egyptian magician.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I know you're wondering why there's no brothers up on the wall. She's got a fan on the audience. It's that goon.
We'll see you tomorrow night at the same time.
You're hiring me?
Well, of course, we're hiring you.
There's no other desperate performers here in New York City.
Gary does a little detective work. He goes to the clothing store. He finds Susan's phone number because she left it with the guy because she was looking for the jacket too. And so he calls Susan. He meets up with her at a club.
And it's filled with all different types. This is the classic punk, gay, new wave bar.
You wanna dance?
You can dance for inspiration. Susan's enticing. After the magic show, Roberta's chased by Nolan.
I'm being followed by Giorgio Moroder. You better go catch the Midnight Express. And I'm all out of Giorgio Moroder jokes. She hides for a bit.
Someone following me.
You stay here. Enrique will take care of it. Not mal.
I think Enrico's being a little too subtle. But he eventually catches her. She falls down and bonks her head again, and some cops find her.
She's arrested for being a prostitute, because only a prostitute would be attacked by a man in the middle of the night.
Susan comes back home with Gary,
so she gets to see how the other half lives.
Don't you think you ought to wait for Roberta before you start taking her clothes?
I never wait for anyone before I start taking anything from anywhere. They smoke a little pot. Does he have a sunken snack caddy in his coffee table?
Every stoner should have that for when they get the munchies. It should be, oh yeah, don't worry guys, it's all under control. Des bails out Roberta. Roberta remembers who she is now because she bumped her head.
And they make love.
Meanwhile, on Aiden Quinn's chest,
Susan's living the high life over there at Gary's, watching TV, and she finds out about something called the Nefertiti earrings that look suspiciously like the ones that she took from the hotel room at the beginning of the movie. Susan takes out a personal ad. Hey, the stranger who's desperately seeking Susan, come meet me at the Magic Club at 9:30. What do you think, Tabby Hoffman? Everybody sees the personal ad. Everybody goes to the Magic Club. I just really hope at some point John Turturro pops out from behind a curtain and says, "Do not seek the treasure."
Jimmy!
Who's the stranger?
He's awfully jealous of his girlfriend with whom he does not have a monogamous relationship.
What happened to Susan? Looks like you lost your girlfriend.
I poured spot remover on your girlfriend, and now she's gone.
Roberta's up on the stage doing her act.
Susan? Roberta?
Birds?
Birds?
Nolan runs up on stage. He grabs the earring and he runs off. He recognizes Susan and he grabs her. Gary and Roberta have a heart-to-heart talk. She says, I don't want to go home with you. He says,
I'm going to go outside and I'm going to wait for 5 minutes. And if you're not there, I'm going to leave without you.
5 minutes outside in New York at this time of night, at this time of the 80s? Don't worry, you'll be a widow any second now.
You know, magicians can legally perform divorces as long as it is part of their act. It's a little fun fact for you. Susan crawls in through the window. Roberta grabs a bottle.
Right into the head. Now stab him in the throat.
Good going, stranger.
And they give back the precious earrings that they didn't know were stolen in the first place.
Roberta has left Gary. I stole this jacket from Morris Day in the Time. She's with Des now.
So what is it?
Roberta.
I think.
I was hit in the head several times on the way over here, so I'm not sure.
If you don't like my name, just give me a good clunking. I can be whoever you want me to be.
They kiss, and it messes up the movie, and now everybody's upset. But not Susan and Jim, because they're lovers in love. And that is Desperately Seeking Susan. We have gotten into the groove and watched Desperately Seeking Susan.
I don't know why I never watched it back in the 80s.
I saw the previews for it so many times. So many images are these iconic images that have been burned into my brain. What is Susan? She's not the hero.
I would say that she is a trickster figure.
She's Puck.
Yeah, she's...
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
She's the source of chaos and mischief and change that moves the story along.
Yes, and like Puck or Coyote in Native American myths, she can be heroic, she can save the day, but for her own selfish reasons.
And this all makes sense because this whole movie is a bit of a Lower East Side fantasy.
Yes.
The square from Jersey gets shaken out of her dull life, and she's changed as a result of it. And meanwhile...
She's transformed into this New York City flower.
Sure.
And also to go into New York City, which was someplace very dangerous, yet very, very cool.
And a place for adventure. And so movies like this, where they take out a lot of the danger and just leave the adventure in it, it's very thrilling to watch.
You do have Nolan going around, who never seems all that scary. Even when he literally has a gun pointed into Madonna's eye, you know he's never going to pull the trigger.
It's not a great movie.
I was expecting it to be a lot better.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was on the New York Times 10 Best of 1985 list.
But... from where we're sitting today, it's always nice to take a trip into the New York of the past. Pretty much any past.
Yeah.
Everyone is nostalgic for old New York, whether they lived there or not. Just because we know it so well from movies and from TV and even from books.
Yeah.
It's such a character in everyone's life.
I don't know how much of this movie was set dressing and how much of it was filmed on location. That Magic Club, both interior and exterior, where did that come from?
I would be at the Magic Club every night. Because you know that the drinks are cheap.
And that squalor is just so exciting. I remember I went to New York in the summer of 1984, which was around the time they were filming this movie, and just going in and just seeing these buildings being held up by the graffiti.
I didn't expect this movie to be so evocative of the scene. And for two guys from the Midwest, I gotta say, you and I were batting 1,000 in identifying those somewhat obscure New York scenesters and character actors.
Yes.
Rocket's Red Glare, check.
Susan. Hi.
It's me, Ann Magnuson. Check.
Hey, Shirley Stola, you wanted it on the Porky set. Check.
Hey, John Lurie, can it? Check.
I have no idea how you pulled John Lurie out of it before you even saw the guy through the window. Right after this movie, Spike Lee and Jim Jarmusch just moved over it with a vacuum and sucked up all the actors and made them much bigger than they are.
I know this is one of your big pet peeves. Did you feel like Roberta was a damsel in distress?
I don't think she was. Not through the whole movie. She went into the city on her own. The damsel goes into the dark forest. She gets into some scrapes, but she gets out of them, and she saves Susan in the end as well. And I think it's great that she does come out of amnesia, because when she does consummate the relationship with Des, she's doing it of her own volition.
Yeah, she's herself. I like the fact that Roberta is really changed by circumstance, not necessarily by a change within herself. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this make sense. She never says, I'm going to leave my husband.
Yeah.
But the events that take place lead her to that conclusion. I think in a lot of these movies where a square kind of becomes a non-square, it's very contrived.
Compared to Sandy in Grease, how do I win Danny? I'm just going to become like him. There's not a natural progression through the course of the movie. Does she ever find out that her husband's been having an affair?
No. Her husband's affair is just there for us. To clue us in right away that not only is he a narcissistic jerk, he's also a philandering bad husband.
And it makes it okay at the end of the movie that she leaves him.
It makes it okay that she sleeps with Des.
Yes.
Because even in 1985, the cheating wife was still a huge taboo, much bigger than the cheating husband. There's one movie trope that I'm really tired of. Someone's sitting in the bathtub, their life is not going so well, and the head goes under the water. Sick of it.
Susan looks cool, but she's really not cool at all.
You don't like her.
I've known that woman. I've never had a girlfriend who steals from me, but I have had the girlfriend who, doesn't call me, and then when I finally get through to her the next day, she answers the phone laughing. It's cool, it's fine. It's just, oh, all right. Well, you want to see me today?
Yeah. That was Desperately Seeking Susan, and that's all well and good, but right now I'm desperately seeking Seen It.
Seen it.
J.D. Schaffner writes, one of my fav music-based films is The Runaways. Seen it?
Seen it.
Seen it. This is a biopic about the band The Runaways, who was an all-girl punk band in the late 70s, and about their manager, Kim Fowley, played by Michael Shannon. A very odd role for him.
Kirsten Stewart was great as Joan Jett. She really, first of all, she looks just like her, but also it's the first time that I had seen her, I thought, oh, this woman actually has range and variations. I know you're not a fan of her.
Don't put words in my mouth. I go back and forth on her, because usually when I see her in a movie, she's great. Mm-hmm. But I often see her in real life, and it's just like watching a brick. I don't get where her juice comes from, because, you know, oftentimes you can see it in the person. I thought the third act got really melodramatic, and there were a couple of lines that made me laugh when they shouldn't have.
J. Paul Okerlund writes The Seven Samurai. Seen it.
Seen it. Of course, this movie was remade in Hollywood later on as The Magnificent Seven.
And then later as A Bug's Life.
This features the legendary Toshiro playing the Horst Buchholz role.
Yes, you think the movie's going to be all about Toshiro? It was like my third or fourth favorite samurai in the entire thing.
Yeah.
He was a bit too old for the role. This one was on my list for decades, but...
You got to set aside a day. I always am interested to look at the reciprocal relationship between Kurosawa and Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Because we see him being influenced by people like John Ford and
Howard
Hawks, D.W. Griffith. And then we see American filmmakers, Robert Altman, Scorsese, in turn being influenced by him. So it's this big circle of influences. Chef Spiral. Have you guys seen Gangs of New York? It's my favorite movie of all time. Seen it.
Seen it.
There are parts of this movie that are very authentic. You really feel like you're transported to that era. There are other parts of it that feel really phony.
I think the movie would be a lot better if they would have cut the love interest. They give love interest so you know that the hero has a soul. And it's like, you know what? Who cares if the hero doesn't have a soul? It's a revenge story.
A misplaced love story is the bane of many movies.
Yeah.
One scene that I remember that really bothered me, it's when Bill finds out that DiCaprio betrayed him. And he's just beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
I think he says at some point, like, say goodbye to that pretty face. We see DiCaprio in subsequent scenes, and he's just got a little bit of a swollen face. His face is totally unchanged.
Yeah.
Contrast that with Fight Club, where we've got Jared Leto's character. He plays a character named Goldie or Blondie or something. Edward Norton ruins his face, and his face is ruined.
Yeah.
That's another way that the movie's just got this kind of layer of phoniness to it.
Daniel Day-Lewis is Bill the Butcher. You know, it's a very hammy performance, but Daniel Day-Lewis is playing a hammy person.
Rabble-rouser, a populist, anti-immigration fellow. It's got a lot of things going for it, and it's got a lot of things against it.
But I totally get why this would be somebody's favorite movie. Pulp Fiction writes, have you guys seen McCabe and Mrs. Miller? Yes, I've seen it.
Seen it.
This is a Western that just changes everything about Westerns. It doesn't take place in the desert.
Sure.
It takes place in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I guess that's the West, too. Plus, of course, it has that Altman thing. So you have to really readjust, like, all of your levels.
Boy, this movie is cold. I don't care what time of year you're watching this, you're going to be putting on a sweater. Yeah. Do you think this is Keith Carradine's best performance? Kid?
It's his first performance, I think.
It's so good, though. He inhabits this role.
If you have a suggestion for Seen It, put it down in the comments, and we might mention here on Seen It. Mention here on Seen It.
Go to welcometothebasementshow.com, click on the PayPal donation buttons, donate to support this show. Just like Carl, who says, thanks for making one of the best shows about movies on the internet. You can also check out our unboxing show, which comes out every other Friday. We open our mail, we thank our donors, and there's all kinds of surprises.
Like us on Facebook.
Desperately Seeking Susan, no longer missing. And now, check this out.
Hey, is there anyone out here from Queens? You? Well, I'm from normal parents myself.
Anyone out there from the Bronx? Me, I was sired by humans, not by a burro.
Take a Valium like a normal person.